Hello everyone and welcome back to a car profile. Now, to make sure you don't miss out on these, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And in the background, you can see a Lamborghini Huracan GT3 car. It has a 5.2 litre V10 engine, mid-engined rear-wheel drive, 6 gears in this car, and this is based on the real race car. It's a real-life car that has been raced. It made its debut, or had a debut victory, should I say, in the Blancpain Endurance Series in 2015, and it's had a couple of generations since with the Evo and Evo 2. In terms of balance of performance then, 496 brake horsepower, 1,380 kilograms across the board there in the low, medium, and high speeds. So quite a weighty car, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go through this video. Lamborghini, one of my all-time favourite manufacturers. It really is up there. And, of course, it has one of my favourite engines in that V10 engine. This car, very well known for its crazy handling. We know what it was like in GT Sports. And we have done a Beat the Meta with this car. So you can check out the Beat the Meta at the end of this video. Let's jump into the car profile in detail then, where we start off with the low-speed bot test. Low speed, of course, being Laguna Seca if you are new to this video series. What we're going to do here is compare our fastest lap versus the fastest car we've driven here at the moment, which is the Porsche 911 RSR. And you see that down in the bottom right-hand side. And we're looking for a 21.751. Going through these first couple of corners, it did feel really nice, to be honest. So nice that it actually is up on that Porsche 911 as we go through that right-hander. So what I'm thinking here is the weight is shifting quite a lot. We know Gran Turismo is very well known for its extreme weight transfer, and because it's quite heavy, that rear is just shifting around a lot because that's where the weight is actually based in this car. It does have a 42-58 weight distribution, which is quite significant in my opinion. Going through the kink, it wasn't too bad. I did suffer a little bit of understeer at times, but I think that was just where it was in the gearing as we head towards the corkscrew. Now, like a lot of MR cars, it does struggle with the weight transfer at this corkscrew, so you do have to be patient. You can't be aggressive going through the corkscrew, and that does mean that we lose out a little bit here on the Porsche 911, being 1/10 down, but it's still there fighting with the very best here as we go through the right-hander. Look at how it just chokes itself in and continues out of the corner as we head towards the last corner, hard on the brakes. And we are going to talk about the brakes in the next part of the car profile because they're not really that good in my opinion. We leave the final corner there and accelerate towards the line. We're looking for a 121.254. What do we get in the end? A 121.3. Not too shabby in the grand scheme of it. Just around a 10th off the Porsche 911. And that is the end of that test there at Laguna Seca. Remember, we do 10 laps, so 1 out lap, 10 fast laps. And you can see here, this is the Optimum time. And the Optimum time is P6. So it's very well up there in with the Meta cars there. Very much in the peak. And really, that first sector really did nail it. It was absolutely stunning in that first sector. It really was. And you can see it's beating a lot of cars there. And of course, when we did do the Beat the Meta in this car, it was a fast flowing circuit where it did excel at a little bit more than normal. So we'll see how it handles itself as we go towards the medium speed bot test. We did see a little bit of understeer at Laguna Seca, and we're going to jump to the medium speed bot test just now because that is the end of all the cars we've done the testing so far. And we'll get on to other cars we haven't tested yet a little bit later on. Going to Suzuka then for the medium speed bot test and in towards turn 1, where like a lot of MR cars that we very well know, it did struggle into turn 1. It really did. I had to really judge it accordingly. Late gear shifts in terms of going down there really did solve that problem. And then we've got sector 1 here. This is all about handling, of course, and similar to sector 1 at Laguna Seca, you could chuck it around very nicely here, staying in that third gear, trying to abuse the gears a little bit there, back up into third gear with short shift. I mean, up by nearly a 10th there on that Toyota Supra as we go on through, the Toyota Supra being the fastest at the moment. So it was really good in that sector 1 apart from turn 1. And there's plenty more time in turn 1 if I'm really honest with you. Going through Tidgney 1, I did struggle initially with Tidgney 1, but so I managed to sort itself out. The more of the bump I took, the better it handled it really weirdly. Like, the less I took, it just made it worse, to be honest with you. We have dropped a bit of time through that Toyota Supra now, just half a 10th down as we go into the hairpin. Slowing it down nicely. We can get on the power really early here. But remember, a lot of weight in this car, and it's over the rear wheel, so it just plants itself, and you can accelerate out the corner without too much issue in terms of power oversteer as we head towards Spoon. And this is probably where some of the understeer comes in that I mentioned at Laguna Seca. We're going to see a little bit here at Spoon as we go into here, because as you accelerate, of course, if the weight's all over that rear wheels, there's nothing over the front, so the front just lifts up completely. I'd see we get a bit of oversteer there, and that forces some understeer. I've experienced it at Spoon, experienced it on a couple of more high-speed corners where you're really at the top end of the revs. The front's just lifted up too much, and it is causing a bit of understeer. Right, we're going to head towards 130R, and this is where it's just unbelievable. We took it into here. 151, 150 is one of the fastest, if not the fastest there through 130R that I've ever seen. It really can do 130R at 151 in my opinion. It's literally the best of the best through that corner as we continue on out. We're looking for a 159.0. What's this going to be on lap number 10 as we cross the line there? 159.175, just off that Toyota Supra by 1.5 tenths. But again, that's competing with the best of the best here. So the Lamborghini Huracan at the moment is producing some very good results. Very good results, even though it is a little bit sketchy. And as you see there, P6 once again for the Lamborghini, 159.1. It's very much there or thereabouts compared to all the other cars as well. It's a good showing so far for this Lamborghini. I will say, though, it is a sketchy car. Turn 1 had some issues you'll have noticed on some of the laps there on the right-hand side as we've been going down them in terms of showing you the fastest laps. You can see all the laps there, of course, that I've done at that point. They have been all over the place because I have had some spins. And some spins, yeah, I've been big spins as well. I've not been little by any stretch of the imagination. And that's where we're going to jump to the next balance performance test, which is going to be the high-speed one at Bathurst. Yes, Bathurst is the next one for the high-speed test. And this is where it gets interesting. You can see, again, those laps on the right-hand side, they're all over the place. This one was a hard one in this car. I've got to be honest with you. Going through turn 1, you can see I'm trying to just straighten up as quick as I can there. Using all of the exit there. Probably cost me a little bit of time in the grand scheme of it as we look to face off against the Lexus RCF there with 19.086. What have we got there as we cross the line then? A 19.2. A little bit down then on that Lexus. We head towards this right-hander. Now, I suffered a bit of understeer on this corner. I'm not sure what it was, but it just really struggled with understeer. Didn't have it too much on this fast lap, but I did experience some as we go into this slight left into the hard braking here. Now, on exits, we get power oversteer in FR cars, but this is MR, so no real drama there as we continue on up here as we chuck it into the right-hander. Now, I'm going to lift a little bit here. Don't have to lift in this Lamborghini. It's one of those where it starts to get sketchy at this point with all the weight transfer happening, and that's the big problem with this car. It's the weight transfer. It causes some serious issues. Going through here, you can see the car just gets a bit sketchy there going through that left-hander. As we go down here, I'm actually going to go on the brakes slightly early here. I'm trying to balance the car as best as I can coming down here. This is my best effort as I go through here with 4 tenths down that Lexus. Through that left-hander, I crashed there about 3-4 times. And you can see those laps on the right-hand side as we continue on down towards Forest Elbow. Again, a very tricky corner to do in this car. The weight just shifts so quickly. It feels just like the weight is just huge on that rear end. It doesn't feel like heavy as a car, but because of the weight transfer, it just shifts it over really quickly. And that's what causes the fast oversteer moments that you get and the real unbalance that you feel in this car. Let's head towards the end of Sector 3 then. What we're looking at here, 7 tenths down then on that Lexus RCF as we head towards our top speed check here. 169, 170 hard on the brakes. Now, the brakes in this car are not very good. There are definitely cars with much better brakes. And again, I think that's to do with weight because all the weight's over the rear. The front gets planted, but there's no weight there. It doesn't get planted enough, in my opinion, as we go hard on the brakes in the final corner. It is the weight in this car that it causes issues, in my opinion. As we continue on out of there, the 201.8 is what we're looking for here. As we head towards the line, it's a 202.6, and it's the only 202 I got the entire session. So it tells you how hard this car was actually to drive. The fact that's my only one there. Now, we do look at optimums, as I've said in this video already. What is the optimum time overall then? Doesn't make the top 10 this time, and it is all to do with that stability. Going over the top of the mountain, it just struggles, and it struggles bad, this car. It's not a car I would choose for a race at all here. P17 in the end. Remember, it's been P6 on both of the previous tracks, I think it was, and it's P17 there. And that is, I'd argue, a pretty lucky one, to be honest with you, to get right, because over the course of those 10 laps and then the one out lap, it's very hard to do. And obviously the Audi R8 there in P22, that had a similar experience. It was a very difficult car to drive. But all of V10s apparently are the mid-engine cars. So, yeah, a tricky one there at Bathurst. We'll see how it ends up, of course, in the summary as we jump to the next test, which is the fuel test here. So this is all about fuel usage and how well it fuel saves. And we'll get my words out there. The top left is automatic, fuel map 1, so just normal revving. Bottom left is fuel map 3 with automatic, so for your automatic drivers there. Top right is half shift there, the best way to save fuel. And bottom right is the emergency saving fuel, of course. Now, we measure this in terms of performance more than anything because a good car that can fuel save doesn't get impacted by performance. Now, top left is one that finishes first, what we expect here because you do rev this car out. So that finishes in at 25.2 there with 57% fuel still remaining. Now, the half shift there finishes with 63%, so it's 6% saving, and it only lost 2 tenths performance there. That does seem okay to me, but we'll have to look at the table to really get a good idea of that. Now, this is where we see that the fuel map 3, I've said it many times, is the one that it just loses out here, as you can see. 63% safe, same as the half shift, but a much longer delay there. Half a second difference in performance. That's huge. With then a whole 1 second there on the emergency fuel saving. But look at how much we saved there. 14% fuel saved there on that bottom right hand side. So it does show you can do emergency fuel saving, of course, but it is performance hitting. And that's what we're looking at here with this test. Right, let's get into the details then. So it's that in the top 10 there in terms of performance and fuel. But we've got to look at fuel level and the performance there to see what it's like. The Ford Mustang did amazing there. You can see that 57 and a 24.8. Now, we got 57 in this one. And it's around about where a lot of the cars are in this section there. 25.2 across the board. 55 to 61 in fuel. So it's there or thereabouts. So nothing really special for this car in terms of the Lamborghini Huracan. Right, what we're going to do next is, of course, go to the half shift, I believe is the next chart we go to. We've got 4 charts, of course, for the 4 tests that we did. So the half shift then, can't see it in that top 10, so it doesn't really improve there in terms of performance, in terms of the half shift. We do know we have to rev this car as well from the test we've already done and the beat the meta. P11 then, a joint P11, in fact, with the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo, but it does have a bit more fuel saved there, 63. So that is an interesting little note there, that it does have more fuel saved compared to that Mercedes, even though it's the same performance. Interesting, although we will have a look at tyres coming up, of course, because tyres are going to be interesting as well. So that's the half shift done. We're now going to go to the Fuel Map 3 Auto. This is saving fuel just using Fuel Map and nothing else. And again, it's not in that top 10 in terms of performance. So, you know, in terms of saving fuel performance-wise, it's not looking that good. In fact, it goes down to P13. So it does struggle with that engine limited. Now, that's because it's not using a lot of power anyway. So I'm assuming with that further reduction of power, because it's under 500 in this GT3 car, that further reduction is just impacting then the car progressing, because it's also heavy. It's quite a heavy car, that, with what was it, 1,380 kilograms, I think it was. We go to the Fuel Map 3.5 shift then, so the ultimate in fuel saving, and again, not in that top 10. Look at the P10 actually, Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo. That was tied earlier on with the Lamborghini. It looks like it's not tied anymore. In fact, it's P12 now, that Lamborghini. 71, so it's there or thereabouts. So anything in the 0.2s there is around that marker. Obviously, you've got to take into account some human error here with the half shift. So it's literally there or thereabouts with that performance. Bang average. Bang average in terms of fuel there is what we've seen. Does look like a little bit half fuel saving with a half shift there. Does work out a little bit, but nothing stand out, unlike some other cars that we've seen. Right, we're going to go to our tyre test now. We do 2 tyre tests, remember. The first one, of course, is the oval. So this is basically to see how the car reacts with a little bit of human interaction, and that's it. So no braking and literally staying on the inside line. So very little human interaction can cause tyre differences here. And what we're going to do is actually fast forward now, and we're going to fast forward all the way around, okay? We're going to fast forward until the first tyre runs out, and that is basically the test in a nutshell. So we take lap 1, which is the 49.256 that you can see on the right hand side, and then we take any other laps in addition to that. As you can see, it's getting very low now, down on that right rear tire, getting lower and lower and lower, so we are waiting for that to die out. Now are we going to get onto a third lap? Sorry, no, we don't even complete 2 laps there, folks. Not even 2 laps. So yeah, very low, very high tyre wear, should I say, and it's going to appear very low in the ranks, because usually we're well into lap number 3. So we add both those laps together, and that gives us our overall time. We also do one where we do have human interaction with steering, accelerating, braking, everything you can think of course. This has more human error in it, so human error can happen here. What we're going to do is advance to lap 4. Lap 4. Normally it's advanced to lap 5. It's lap 4 for this one. That should be telling you something here as we go up the hill here at Sardinia. Chuck it right then, through we go. We're normally running out of tyre on lap 5 around this point as we go into the right-hander. You notice there the shift in the weight. The car just turns in there, but there's a slight bit of drift in there as we continue on towards the final couple of corners here. Through the right we go and into the left, and the left rear is just gone at this moment. We try and catch it, which we do just there as we go through that right-hander. As we continue on then out of that corner, we are waiting for that left rear tyre to just disappear now as we head towards the line. Are we going to get onto lap 5? That is the question. It's going to be close. And we just crossed the line, and it just ends there. So we add up all 4 laps plus the tiny bit of time between the 2. I have worked that out for you, don't worry. I think it was 0.3 of a second, 0.341, I think, to be precise. We add all those up, and that gives us an overall time then in terms of how long the tyre lasted with more human interaction. We're going to go into a lot more tables now, so this gives you the information. And remember, I am going to be updating the website very soon with even more information. So the oval test, first of all. The very little human interaction in terms of tyre test. How long did the tyres last until the first one ran out? It's not in that top 10. It is P20 overall then. So behind the Audi R8 LMS Evo, very close to that. But it is one of the bottom runners. Now, a lot of people will be saying, well, I expected that. It was very similar in GT Sport. It was. You're not wrong there. You're not wrong at all. The next test is, of course, the circuit test, right? Now, I haven't done all the cars for the circuit test yet. Still, I apologize for that. I did say I'd get them all done. I've not had a chance yet. They will all be done soon. It's not in the top 10, which is to be expected. As I said, we normally advance to lap 5. We advance to lap 4 this time. The question is, where does it sit? So, 442 for the McLaren, 329. This car is shocking on tyres. It is the very bottom, and I expect this car to actually be bottom out of all the cars once I've tested them all. It was bad, very bad on its tyres. Right, top speed. This is another interesting one, of course. We saw a lot of handling coming into play there for the Huracan and doing very well on the handling side, actually, if I'm honest with you. Now, it was actually a fast circuit that we did beat the meta at, and it comes home in P14 there, 170 miles an hour for that Lamborghini Huracan. So it's ahead of some of the more handling cars there by 1 mile an hour, and I'd argue it's at the upper end of 170 miles an hour as well. People ask why aren't I using kilometers an hour? I'm in the UK, we use miles an hour. That's the reason for that. And I can't transfer it to kilometers an hour because I can't save the replay because I have to use the lobby. So that's the reason for that. Overall then, in summary, it's basically in a lead charge of the mid-pack there. The 522.8 there. The Aston Martin V12 Vantage, I'd argue, is the leader of that mid-pack. With anything above that being the meta pack, should I say. Essentially, the best cars. Now, if we didn't have Bathurst, I would argue the Lamborghini pushes itself towards the front. But the tyres being sketchy, you know, the tyre wear just not being there. It's average on fuel, I would say. It's not the greatest car. It can perform at some circuits, but not every circuit, unlike some of the other meta cars. And that's the whole point of these tests, you know. We do a low, medium, high speed. We test the car out in different scenarios, and that's where it ended up being at the lead of the mid-pack there. Now, if you did enjoy this video, do give it a like, subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest content. We do lots of different content on this channel. We've got the car profiles that you've just witnessed. We've got Beat the Metas. You can check out the Lamborghini Beat the Meta there, or a different car profile if you want as well. We do weekly race guides, time trial guides. We do the lot. Everything here on the channel. A big thank you for the support as always, and I hope to see you in another video or live stream again very, very, very soon.